The majority of students across this country are required to take a literature class to graduate, at least 1 year. Many are required to take 2 full years of literature, one being American literature and another being either British or world literature. That's a lot of study on a topic that has little relevancy today. My case is let's mandate financial literacy and other critical life skills and make subjects like literature an elective. Now, I have one key point, and I'll address some of the common objections I get to this as well. But the key point is usability. If we look at the amount of English graduates out there as their major, English graduate majors from college, the total is about 3%. And the job opportunities out there for them are pretty minimal. You could be an English teacher, you could be a writer, sometimes they'll be in some communications team, but the majority of jobs aren't in that space. So we're focusing a lot of attention, 2 years in many cases, at least 1 year, on a topic that has little usability in the real world. Now, let's compare that to financial literacy. I can tell you right now, 100% of students need to understand finances to succeed in life, to meet their basic human needs, and to ensure they're not living in a struggle their entire life. Literature cannot say the same thing. In addition, we know that subject matter that colleges are requiring for entry and also the high schools are mandated are completely outdated. The subjects that literature and other subjects, math and science, have been required to be taught for over 100 years. Early on, it just had testing requirements that included literature. Later, they mandated that students complete coursework in that as well. And I'm not just saying this. I'm going to read a quote here from the National Council of Teachers of English in their 2022 position statement. It says, we no longer live in a print on demand or a print dominant text only world. Everyone in our society now needs the ability to assess a wide variety of information, entertainment, and persuasion that surrounds them, to evaluate the validity of claims and to debunk misinformation when necessary. As a result, the English and language arts curriculum must change to recognize and incorporate the evolving media landscape in which young people interact every day. That's not my words. So we have a major problem there. And I think if they made it more relevant, there could be a case for including that as a mandated course. But right now, I don't see any change happening. Even when leaders in education recognize change, the education system is very slow to adapt new proven things that will really help our students. Instead, they're rooted in history and really ivory tower type education subjects like literature. Now, when I say this, I often get complaints, often from people in the English department and similar. And I'm going to read a few of the complaints here. One is, hey, why can't we teach both topics? Right, well, that is a good point. And it really boils down to opportunity cost. You know, the schools right now are teaching to the test. They're trying to get students into this college pathway, and colleges require literature to be a mandated topic. So there's an issue there. And there's limited time we have to teach the students, limited budgets. So there's an opportunity cost. When we choose to teach literature over a subject that will benefit more people in a more meaningful way, we lose out, right? The real world topics lose out. And so we can't teach both. It would be great if we could. I'm not saying we get rid of literature. I'm saying make it an elective and something where those that have that enjoyment of that topic, they still have a path to learn. Maybe it's a self-directed learning, but we're still giving them that path and opportunity. Second one is builds critical thinking skills. Now this comes up in every subject that I go head to head with financial literacy. Builds critical thinking skills. Well, if that was so important, number one, why not just teach critical thinking? Give them a framework to critically think. Give them many different examples. Some can come from literature, some can come from math. I would say make them most based in reality: money, finance, relationships, interpersonal relationships, friendships, job, communicating with bosses. There's plenty of ways to critically think. And the reason that is so important is because this concept of transfer of learning, and there's a thing called far transfer of learning, meaning If you learn a subject matter, like critical thinking, a skill set within one subject matter, it does not transfer. It's very rare that it transfers to other areas. So if I learn critical thinking in English and literature, I'm not able to apply that to somewhere else, like planning my finances or planning a raise with my boss. That won't transfer. Now, near transfer of learning happens where if I'm mastering skills at a certain level of English or literature, I can apply that to maybe more advanced books, but it does not occur when you're going across subject matter. So, that builds critical thinking skill sets. Anything can build critical thinking skill sets. Personal finance can build critical thinking skill sets. All subjects can build it, but the problem is with other subjects besides financial literacy, it does not apply to other areas of somebody's life. In addition, because they're not able to apply that, there's very steep learning loss on that subject matter. The next thing people say is, well, it builds cultural awareness and empathy. Yeah, it can, but most people are frustrated. A lot of students are frustrated. I remember my 2 years of literature I had to take. It was annoying. I didn't like the language. I didn't care about reading. I still don't like reading. When I read, I do read a lot of books, but I'm skimming through it, pulling out the information I need that will help me in my life right now. Right? I don't like the process of reading for fun. That never was an enjoyment for me. So that cultural wellness and empathy, I didn't really get much out of the books because I just don't like reading that way. I'll flip through, highlight, and get information I need, but I don't like reading that way. And a lot of people don't either. And in fact, study after study of youth show that they don't like reading. That's only increased with the TikToks and the shorter attention spans. Additionally, we can gain empathy and understanding of other areas, cultural awareness, whatever you want to say, in many other ways. Movies are a great way, right? I just watched The Sound of Freedom. I mean, I was touched. It was so sad and upsetting, and I'm empathizing with people in that situation, which were being human trafficked. It's just a horrible situation, and I was completely engrossed. I wasn't have to decipher language and read. I was completely engrossed and built up empathy and awareness for these families that are in poor areas and the added risks that they have. Right, so there's many ways to gain empathy and build that life skill set. The next thing they say is, well, it helps improve writing and communication skills. Yeah, maybe, but we can do that in many other ways. Maybe we have them write a report on investment strategy they're interested in. Maybe we have them write a report on how to build a friendship or something else. It doesn't have to be based on outdated literature, and this is going back several hundred years in many cases. You're reading about things that really don't apply, and the language they're using is different. So I think we could develop communication writing skills differently. And also, there's so many ways we can communicate. It can be written, it can be videos. We see these kids today, they're getting impressive on these YouTube and short videos, TikTok videos. It's impressive what they're able to do and the stories they're able to convey in a very short time frame. And there's so many ways to express yourself today. Even text, right? There's styles and emojis. I don't use any of that, but it's interesting to see and try to decipher what they're saying. But there's a lot of ways that people can build those skill sets. And lastly, they say, well, it helps build appreciation for the arts. I actually disagree with that because a lot of people are turned off by literature. It doesn't fit what they're into, and it doesn't give somebody an appreciation for the arts. There's so many different types of art mediums as well. You have nature as an art medium. You have sculptures. You have painting. You have even martial arts. I mean, if anybody knows jujitsu and that type of strategy, it is an art. Chess is an art. So there's so many different types of arts where you can develop an appreciation. So all of the objections that they say to me are debunked, and I'd be willing to debate anybody on that. And it really comes down to what I said earlier: usability. What's the percentage of students it will benefit? Because if it's not 100%, financial literacy wins out. Taxpayers are paying for kids to go through subject matter that will have no relevancy in their life, that will not benefit them at all. Parents are putting their kids through it, having to deal with upset kids learning ridiculous topics that are outdated. This is the when I think of ivory tower education, literature comes to mind. I think of people sipping their tea, talking about literature. That's not me. That's not the people I work with. That's not the people I know, and that's not the working class Americans. That is a very few percent of people that might appreciate that or have discussions on that. That isn't the average American out there today. And we need to make sure that they're getting critical life skills, the things that are going to help them meet their core human needs so they can be self-sufficient and contributing members of society.